Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, more shaking in Southern California. After a strong aftershock this morning, see some of the damage caused by yesterday's quake. And President Trump says he might act on his own to add a citizenship question to the census.
Now we have to tell our guests that they need to ask for a straw, and then they parcel those out one by one.
Enforcement of San Diego's straw ban is on hold, but businesses are still following the new law, how they're navigating the legal back and forth.
The beach is pretty darn clean compared to previous years. I'm impressed. So hopefully people are, getting the idea to clean up after themselves.
And volunteers get to work cleaning up local beaches after the 4th of July. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. It's Friday, July 5th. I'm Ebony Monet. Aftershocks continue today in Southern California after the strongest earthquake in 20 years. A magnitude 5.4 quake struck early this morning near the city of Ridgecrest. That's north of Los Angeles in Kern County. The U.S. Geological Survey says it's an aftershock to yesterday's 6.4 earthquake. CNN reporter Omar Jimenez shows us how people there are cleaning up.
Our inventory got absolutely destroyed by it. It was a freight train hitting our office.
Residents in Southern California facing the daunting task of cleaning up while dealing with dozens of new tremors, some of them significant.
Tremors were nonstop. We actually got in the car and were thinking about leaving.
Thursday's earthquake, a magnitude 6.4, was centered near Ridgecrest, about 150 miles northeast of Los Angeles.
I've been in a lot of earthquakes here in Southern Cal, the big ones in LA, and this was like the worst.
Surveillance videos from shops and restaurants all show similar scenes, frightening moments as lights swing, items fall from shelves, and employees run to safety. The quake downed power lines, cracked roads, and sparked fires. Some residents weren't able to get back to their homes Friday.
We have approximately 30 people sheltering in our emergency center right now. There were some homes that were knocked off foundations.
Amazingly, no serious injuries were reported, but officials say it's likely the aftershocks could continue for days and possibly weeks.
The concern being is the aftershocks. Obviously, with Mother Nature, and there's nothing that you can predict. You can't say when or if something is going to happen.
I'm Omar Jimenez reporting.
Yesterday's earthquake was detected by California's new early warning system, but the warning was not sent to smartphones. Right now, the system is only being tested in LA County. The U.S. Geological Survey says it received a 48-second warning through the Shake Alert system. However, public notification is only made if the intensity reaches a certain threshold in the LA area. Closer to home in East County, today marks 1 year since the disaster there, a wildfire that destroyed dozens of homes. In all, 39 homes were lost in the West Fire. County officials say about half have been rebuilt or are in the rebuilding process. One of the recovery managers says there's one big lesson from the West Fire that can be used in future disasters.
The Alpine Fire Protection District indicated that after the 2018 wildfire in Alpine, they saw defensible space worked. Properties that maintained it had greater success in protecting the homes, and it helped the firefighters protect the properties better when defensible space was maintained.
The county also urges people to sign up for the warning system at readysandiego.org. You can register your phone number and download an app to receive updates on disasters. The forms are being printed, but President Trump says a legal fight over the 2020 census is not over. The president wants to include a question on citizenship and now says he might issue an executive order to make it happen.
We're thinking about doing that. It's one of the ways. We have 4 or 5 ways we can do it. It's one of the ways that we're thinking about doing it very seriously. We're doing well in the census, so we'll see what happens. We can also add an addition on so we can start the printing now and maybe do an addendum after we get a positive decision. So we're working on a lot of things, including an executive order.
Today, lawyers for the Justice Department told a federal judge they're exploring options. This after the Supreme Court last week rejected a request by the Trump administration to include the question. Experts within the Census Bureau say it would reduce participation. An executive order would not override the Supreme Court, but could lead to a new hearing. A new state law took effect this year that has allowed more public access to police records. But as KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen explains, we're still learning about the law's limitations.
On the night of June 8th, 2 San Diego police officers were driving through Hillcrest responding to a burglary. A woman stepped into this block of West Washington Street outside the crosswalk. Both officers hit her with their cars. She later died of her injuries. At first glance, we thought we could get more details about the crash under a new state law that requires police to disclose records related to officer uses of force. But Public Records Attorney Matthew Hallgren says San Diego police define use of force as an officer attempting to gain control over a person or situation.
And because that is their understanding of what use of force means in this context, they are taking the position that an automobile accident does not qualify as a use of force.
Hallgren has represented KPBS in public records cases. He says the new law, SB 1421, has improved police transparency, but
there are at least some aspects of police conduct and misconduct that are not available pursuant to public records requests, even under SB 1421. So really, this is an area that might be ripe for additional legislative action to further enhance public access.
The woman who died last month here in Hillcrest was 33-year-old Bernadette Grantling. Last September, 60-year-old Jesus Casares died after being struck by a San Diego police vehicle. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
This year, San Diego adopted new rules limiting the use of plastic straws and utensils. But recently, the city has suspended enforcement because it's being sued. As KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar explains, the process has been confusing for businesses.
So this is what we're talking about as far as the reusables.
Laura Ambrose and her husband have owned Woodstock's Pizza, a chain of pizza places across California, for 18 years. She says keeping track of all the ordinances and laws in each place she owns a restaurant can sometimes be difficult.
Especially now in California, there's been a trend toward every municipality creating their own sets of laws. So yeah, we have to be really careful because we're in 6 different towns.
6 months ago, the California legislature set limitations on plastic straws and utensils at full-service restaurants. Customers have to ask for them. But Ambrose says that didn't leave her scrambling. Her restaurants stopped giving out plastic straws long before the ban. But she says the change did cause some challenges.
Paper straw industry got overloaded. They couldn't keep up with the demand. And so what we did as a first step is we took the straws away and put them behind the counter. And now we have to tell our guests that they need to ask for a straw, and then they parcel those out one by one.
She says not only has she not been able to find a paper straw supplier who can keep up with the demand, paper straws are also more expensive than plastic.
This is just like more of an explanation of all the things that we do to be green.
But she's happy to not use plastic because of its impact on the environment.
For me, it's more than just whether it's a convenience or an inconvenience. It's something that's a necessity. I feel like all of us need to do our part to improve the environment.
Volunteers removed more than 20,000 pieces of polyester from San Diego beaches in 2017. That's according to Surfrider Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to the protection of the ocean. They say plastic straws are one of the most common items they find during beach cleanups and are harmful to marine wildlife. But getting rid of plastic straws completely isn't a realistic option for everyone.
Plastic straws are a tool that many of our clients with disabilities need.
Christian Abasto is the director of the Legal Advocacy Unit for Disability Rights California, a nonprofit committed to protecting the rights of people with disabilities.
So what we advocate is that the laws that ban straws have exceptions so that anybody who requests a plastic straw, they have it available for them to use it.
He says paper straws aren't effective for people with mobility issues, and metal and glass straws can be dangerous for them.
So let me give you this.
Over in City Heights, Enrique Gandaria from the City Heights Business Association has been handing out bilingual flyers to small businesses outlining the new rules.
Small businesses have a lot of stuff to keep track of. So adding something else is not going to make it easier. But I think it's a matter of time, and eventually businesses adjust, they adapt, they make changes, and then it's part of just doing business.
Andrew Benavides opened up a coffee shop in City Heights back in April. Technically, because his shop doesn't count as a full-service restaurant where customers order at a table instead of a counter, he doesn't have to comply with the law. Benavides says he wants to be environmentally friendly, but not all of his customers are on board.
Well, since we opened up, we just went straight with paper straws just because it is earth friendly. And some people do complain about it because it gets a little wobbly after a while. And then now since summer's coming around, a lot of people are drinking more cold drinks, so more paper straws are being used. So we're definitely going to see an increase in that.
Under state law, any full-service restaurant would be charged $25 per day for a violation. The maximum a restaurant could be fined is $300 a year. The law would be enforced by officers from the Environmental Services Department. Violations would be reported by customers of the business. Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
The city says the lawsuit over the ban was filed by the California Restaurant Association. A hearing on the case is scheduled for October. And it's not just straws and utensils on our beaches today. The day after the 4th of July is a messy one. KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us the annual volunteer effort to clean things up.
It's as certain as the oohs and ahs from Independence Day partiers. Many of them leave behind their trash on San Diego beaches. After partying last night, Richard Cohen is cleaning up today. He has an idea why people don't clean up after themselves.
They have a sense of entitlement instead of, realizing that we're just one small, tiny bit of a giant organism trying to keep this planet in the right direction.
Cohen has volunteered for the annual Morning After Mess cleanup for 7 years now. And despite some folks not getting the message, he's also noticed improvement over the years.
The beach is pretty darn clean compared to previous years. I'm impressed. So hopefully people are, getting the idea to clean up after themselves.
The Surfrider Foundation organizes the yearly cleanup. The foundation's Roger Kuby says he's seen the same positive change.
Over the last decade, we have seen a trend in less trash. And again, I think that has to do, one, with the booze ban, and two, with the community becoming more conscious.
The cleanup covers 5 different spots: the Ocean Beach Pier, the nearby Dog Park, Belmont Park at Mission Beach, the Crystal Pier in Pacific Beach, and the Oceanside Pier. Results aren't in yet for this year, but last year between 600 and 700 volunteers picked up between 1,500 and 2,000 pounds of trash. Kuby says there are easy things everyone can do to keep those numbers moving in the right direction.
Be conscious of your footprint, essentially, because whatever you leave on this beach, a lot of it ends up in the ocean if we don't get here in time to clean it up. Let's replace those single-use disposable products with reusables. That way you're hauling out what you're hauling in.
Richard Cohen surfs these ways. He says helping to clean up is a good way to give back. And
yeah, I just figured what a good way to get rid of a hangover is, taking care of Mother Ocean and the beach.
John Carroll, KPBS News.
In those local beaches, we'll continue to see morning clouds and afternoon sunshine. Paul Williams has our weekend forecast.
Well, keep in mind that we're watching out for choppy waters still. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Paul Williams. Be mindful of changing swells that's likely to occur. Winds, waves about 2 feet or less, but we look for mixed swells out of the west at about 2 to 3 feet at about 7 seconds, and then south at about 3 to 4 feet at about 13 seconds. So being mindful of that if you're going to be out in the water in any capacity. Satellite depiction is looking relatively clear for us. We're taking a look at our future cast at this present time, and as we begin to kind of put this into motion, we are seeing looking and anticipating that the moisture content coming off of the water is going to still stay minimal at best. We start to see it clearing out for us quickly as we go into portions of early Sunday morning, going into Sunday afternoon. By lunchtime Sunday, we're seeing a mix of clouds that's going to push throughout the region, but we're still staying far away from the likelihood of any shower activity moving into the region as a whole. Taking a look at our expectation for tonight, we'll drop back to about 64 degrees with increasing clouds in the area for tonight. And then as you take a gander at what we're expecting, for example, in San Diego County for tonight, Oceanside 60 degrees with increasing cloud cover, and San Diego 64 scattered cloud cover and staying pretty clear, and Borrego Springs and 70 degrees actually. Now as you take a look at Saturday, it's going to be a seasonable kind of a day. It's going to be cooler along the coast, but sunshine and typical heat as you move a little bit further inland. Now, as we take a look at our expectation for tomorrow's forecast with all the sunshine, we're expecting 75 degrees at Mount Laguna, and then San Diego 71, and then Ramona will have plenty of sunshine and 84 degrees there. Early in the week, we're looking for a dip, and the jet stream is going to bring a little bit of cooler air down towards southern portions of California, just shy of our immediate area. But as you take a look at the 5-day forecast, Saturday along the coast, we're looking for lots of sunshine. Temperature staying in the 70s for the highs. Overnight lows will hover in the 60s with plenty of sunshine with a few low clouds on Monday. Now that's what it's looking like along the coast. As far as inland is concerned, 80 on Saturday, and we drop to the upper 70s on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, but we're back to the lower 80s on Wednesday. And then in the desert, we're going to warm to about 105 on Saturday with plenty of sunshine. Plenty of sun, 101 on Sunday, but we'll dip to 98 on Monday, back up to the century mark on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Paul Williams.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the Trump administration struggles with what argument to make to add a citizenship question to the census. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Local health officials say 2 new cases of E. coli are likely linked to the San Diego County Fair. The cases were reported today. They involve children who visited the fair last month and had exposure to animals. The fair closed its animal exhibits after the first batch of cases were reported last week. Those include a 2-year-old boy who died. The state is helping hundreds of doctors pay off their student loans. Capitol Public Radio's Randall White says it's part of a new program to better serve people covered by Medi-Cal.
Millions of Californians don't have access to quality health care for a variety of reasons. Those on Medi-Cal face some of the greatest obstacles, and a lack of doctors is one of them. That's where the Loan Payback Program steps in, encouraging newly graduated physicians to establish themselves in underserved areas.
They may make a little less, but if they don't have debt to pay back, we're hoping that nets out such that they stay in place and continue to serve Medi-Cal patients.
Jennifer Kent is the Department of Healthcare Services Director. She says nearly $59 million will pay the loans of 247 physicians. Funding comes from 2016's Proposition 56, which increased taxes on cigarettes and e-cigarettes. In Sacramento, I'm Randall White.
Nearly 250,000 new jobs were added to the U.S. economy last month. The latest jobs report shows an increase of 224,000 jobs in June. That's more than triple the number added in May. The unemployment rate ticked up 3.7%, and the Department of Labor says the average hourly wages are up 3% from the same month last year. Sometimes employment is not enough to retire securely, especially if the company you work for doesn't offer a retirement savings plan. Now there's a possible solution. California has launched a program called Cal Savers. It's a state-sponsored retirement program for the private sector. We'll be talking about that plus more for this week's Friday Business Report. And joining us now is Miro Kopik with Bottom Line Marketing and SDSU. Welcome back.
Thanks, Ebony. Glad to be back.
So how prepared are Californians for retirement, and how might this program help?
This program is a huge win for employers, employees, and the state. Employees are not ready for retirement. The average individual just before retirement between the ages of 55 and 64 only has $100,000 saved. That is not enough to carry them through retirement and Social Security. Social Security only gives you about $1,500 a month in benefits. The CalSaver program allows employers to offer a retirement program to their employees. 61%, as you mentioned, of private employers do not offer employees any kind of retirement program. So that means employees are on their own. And what studies have shown is that employees are 15 times more likely to participate in an employer program than finding and setting one up for themselves. And finally, what's really cool in the gig economy is that contract workers, so 1099 employees, can actually start participating in the program directly, not even through an employer, beginning in September. So overall, this sets up employees to actually have that $1 million in their retirement account so they can actually live well in retirement. And this is a great start by the state of California, and it could be a model for the rest of the country.
Next up, just in time for what will be, for some people, a very long holiday weekend, gas prices have shot up across the state. The gasoline tax has gone up nearly 6 cents. Officials estimate this will bring in billions of dollars each year for road repairs. But Miro, what could be the possible impact to the economy if consumers are spending more at the pump?
Well, consumers, this is a scary thing. It's a fine line and a balance. But what this is a 5.6 cents tax. It's going to increase a little bit every year based on a consumer price index. But what it's going to do, it's going to bring $5 billion to the state to repair roads, repair bridges, and expand mass transit. This actually has a positive implication: less time in traffic jams, easier commutes. So there's a big plus in terms of productivity for employees instead of sitting on or individuals sitting on the roads. The challenge is some people say that this tax isn't enough, that it isn't enough to actually fix all the roads. And the big issue is, part of this is we have, as a state, our gas is $1 more than anywhere else in the country, 10 cents more than the next most expensive state, Hawaii. The other part, which the governor is focusing on, is kind of what a lot of administrations have said throughout time, that the oil companies and the refineries are actually manipulating the prices. So the Energy Commission, the State Energy Commission, is doing a survey right now to see what part of that $3.75 a gallon that we pay is actually being manipulated by the oil companies. So we're going to pay a little bit more for a lot better roads, conditions on our roads, and we're going to see if there's other manipulations that are taking place that might affect our gas price.
And finally, the San Diego International Airport is getting a $500 million makeover. What will this include, and will it be enough to bring San Diego's airport up to a first-rate level for a city of this size?
This $500 million has been a year-long negotiation with the airlines to increase the per-passenger fees that they pay, really for the roads and transit into the airport. There's as part of a big vision of the San Diego Airport Authority, there's a $3 billion makeover of Terminal 1, taking it from 19 gates to 30 gates. So all the airlines are really excited about this because it really elevates San Diego to a world-class airport. It's going to make the passenger experience much better. What this $500 million does is it solves two problems. One is the traffic on Harbor Boulevard. There's going to be a new road that's going to go from Laurel Avenue all the way to the airport, no traffic lights, so it makes it easy to park. And there's going to be a whole transit center that either is going to link the trolley or there's going to be a transit center where people can park, and there's going to either be a subway or a people mover on the street level that brings people right to the airport, which relieves tons of congestion and makes the experience much better. And overall, this is going to have the support not only of the airport and the airlines, but the San Diego Association of Governments, the Transit Authority, and the City of San Diego. So they're going to look at 4 alternatives. They're going to report back in August. We'll kind of revisit that at that time, and we'll see how it goes. But it's the right direction for the City of San Diego and the airport.
For someone who travels a lot, I imagine you're going to be watching this story very closely.
So very much so, yes.
So that wraps it up for this week's Friday Business Report. Miro Kopik, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Ebony.
Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher celebrates after being acquitted of murder. SeaWorld is bouncing back, but new storm clouds loom. And USC admits blame and pays big for poaching UCSD's Alzheimer's research program. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
This holiday weekend, 2 new independent movies are playing at theaters. KPBS film critic Beth Accomando says Midsummer and Ophelia are both worth checking out.
Welcome and happy midsummer. Skål! When something is truly fresh and original, it can be hard to find words to describe it. That's the case with Ari Aster's deliciously disturbing slow burn, Midsummer. On one level, it's a breakup movie that looks to issues of grief and loss. It focuses on a group of young people who visit a kind of pagan Swedish cult where the sun always shines, yet something feels dark and brooding underneath the cheery smiles.
Tomorrow's a big day.
Is it scary? Yes, but not in the ways you might expect. The less you know about the film, the better. So let me just say that Aster is a bold filmmaker with a knack for dark comedy and building a sense of dread. If you want unconventional horror delivered in a uniquely confident and gorgeous style, then this is the film for you. But if Shakespeare's your thing, then the new film Ophelia will let you see Hamlet from a new and female perspective. Daisy Ridley stars as Ophelia. She gives us a strong, smart woman bristling at the limitations class and gender place on her.
For a flash, I thought you were a ghost.
At school, we dissected a corpse into his parts. There was no room for his ghost.
I shall have to take your word for it, my lord. I know nothing of the parts of men.
So if you want to celebrate your cinematic independence this 4th of July weekend, then check out one of these films. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. And we end tonight with music by Soul Rebel Sound System from Live at the Belly Up. A new episode airs tonight right here on KPBS. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.
Everybody say, soul rebel, say rebel, rebel, rock.